Hey guys, Nick Wilson here, and it's time for another edition of Nick Mocks the Draft. Today we're going to go ahead and do Mock Draft 2.4. That feels right. I like that one. But as always, I want to hear your feedback after I give you the picks. Let me know at Nick Wilson WFNZ, or you can also find me on Instagram at NickWFNZ, and go ahead and give me your thoughts on this. We're going to actually start with the entire Panthers round of draft picks here. So I went on the FanSpeak simulator, which they have a mock draft simulator, and I started here. Now we're going to start at the 6th round pick and work our way into the first round. And I believe in taking guys who are or maybe really good athletes, but maybe have a concern or two late in the draft. That's where I'd prefer to see teams take those. And that's actually where we start here. Tristan Hill, interior disruptor, interior defensive lineman out of Central Florida. Big concerns are maturity and off the field issues, but this is a guy who is really athletic for his size and very, very productive at UCF. On the inside, again, I think in the Panthers locker room, this is the kind of risk that you take. And I think if you can add somebody to that interior with Poe and KK Short, maybe in a year or two, Hill is the kind of guy that if you can get him on the right path, he could take over for Dontari Poe and be an affordable option for several years there. 5th round, David Long, and this is actually David Long Jr., not David Long Sr., linebacker out of West Virginia, a little bit undersized, more of a hybrid. Plays that will spot, plays that, linebacker safety kind of hybrid, but with a team that's looking for versatility in their players, David Long Jr. is really athletic and also a very productive player at West Virginia. Kind of reminds me of Jatavis Brown, now of the Los Angeles Chargers, when he was coming out of the University of Akron. 4th round pick, a quarterback. Now, I have a quarterback here because I had to take a name, but, the quarterbacks I would prefer, I really like Ryan Finley out of NC State. However, he was not available in this. He got picked 2 picks before because bleep this mock draft. But Tyree Jackson, quarterback out of Buffalo, I'm not as big a fan on him. I know people look at him and say he's a big quarterback with a big arm, accuracy issues, and athletics. So, well, why not have him back up Cam Newton? I just think it's important they get a quarterback. And I think 4th round is actually the latest that they should go ahead and get a quarterback. And by the way, if you're wondering, well, why did you wait that long? Quite frankly, the top picks that I was able to get in this simulator were that much worth it. Moving to the compensatory 3rd round pick there, Nate Davis, guard out of Charlotte. This is a guy who's played pretty much all over the line in college, played some tackle. I think he's going to kick inside. I think he's going to be a really good left guard. Strong run blocker to start. Very physical player. Definitely needs to develop in the pass protection. But he's the kind of guy that I think if you get in right away, he could push Greg Van Roten for that left guard spot. The first of the 3rd round picks, Darnell Savage, the safety out of Maryland, because of course they have to have a Maryland player added every offseason to go with Torrey Smith and to DJ Moore. This is a guy who's undersized, and I think that's probably going to hold him back into the late 2nd, early 3rd, but really productive, very athletic, the kind of guy who can make up for issues in coverage. If he makes a mistake, he can make up for it with his athleticism and with his athleticism and speed. Perfect guy to go opposite of Eric Reed. And again, he's also a guy that can be very versatile. 2nd round, this is the one guy who probably is the least toolsy of all the guys I've drafted. Edge rusher Chase Winovich out of Michigan. It was between him and Jalen Ferguson, the defensive end edge rusher out of Louisiana Tech. But really, you watch Chase Winovich, he's the kind of guy that he's a tone setter. He is a highly productive guy that maybe he's not going to get you 10 sacks a year, 15 sacks a year, but he is going to be very productive and is the kind of guy who can still start, even if he's not Myles Garrett, even if he's not one of the greatest edge rushers in history. Again, extremely highly physical player that I think will be a great tone setter for this young Panthers defense. Number 1, all the edge rushers had gone, and I think this is something we have to prepare ourselves for the Panthers. There's a chance with how this draft breaks up that there might not be an edge rusher you love there at 16. I don't want them to overdraft. This pick really came down because Burns and Sweat and all the other edge rushers were off there, and they were kind of into the third tier of edge rushers. This pick really came down between Juwan Taylor, the right tackle out of Florida, and Rashawn Gary, the interior disruptor from Michigan. And Gary's really good. The production didn't match the athleticism, so I go with Juwan Taylor, who, you know, we had a few guys on. We actually had Brian Burns himself on, and he called Juwan Taylor the best tackle he faced in college. And some Panthers fans are going to have a problem with this because he's a right tackle and not a left tackle. I would rather a first division level player in Juwan Taylor at right tackle than I would a guy who's going to be a good but not great starter. When you talk about that first round pick, 16th pick, I want the best player available. I think Juwan Taylor is much more impactful as a player. His upside is much more than that of Andre Dillard, and I would rather have Juwan Taylor at right and Taylor Moton at left than have kind of substandard players in either one of those places. I think this is the best way to go ahead and go about. So again, Tristan Hill, defensive tackle out of UCF. David Long, linebacker out of West Virginia. Tyree Jackson, quarterback out of Buffalo. Any quarterback, please. Nate Davis, guard out of Charlotte. Darnell Savage, safety out of Maryland. Chase Winovich, defensive end, edge rusher out of Michigan. And Juwan Taylor, the tackle out of Florida. Let me know your thoughts on the mock draft 2.0 here as Nick mocks the draft once again at Nick Wilson, WFNZ. Thank you, guys.